Welcome to the Gifts for Glory podcast, where we celebrate and promote men and women using their gifts for God's glory. Know someone who is making an impact for God's kingdom using their gifts, talents, and passions? We'd love to meet them. Send us an email at podcast@giftsforglory.com. That's podcast@gifts4glory.com. And now here is our host, Dave Ebert.
Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the latest edition of Gifts for Glory live right here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And also, thank you for joining us if you're watching the replay on Creative Motion Network, or if you're watching or listening to the replay on any of the audio podcast platforms that we're a part of. Really excited for you to join us. We've got a great guest as we continue National Humor Month with the one and only Rhonda Corey. We're actually going to play a clip of her comedy, give you a taste of it in just a moment. And then we're going to hear from her as she's getting ready for a lot of dates. Things are picking up for her now that we're kind of getting out of the whole COVID business. We're really excited to see that she's getting back out there. We're going to talk about comedy, about faith, and all of that coming up in just a moment. First, let's get started with our Devotions with Dave segment. Our Devotions with Dave segment is going to come out of Romans 15:13, reading from the NLT. Romans 15:13. I pray that God, the source of hope, will fill you completely with joy and peace because you trust in him. Then you will overflow with confident hope through the power of the Holy Spirit. Again, that's Romans 15:13. I pray that God, the source of hope, will fill you completely with joy and peace because you trust in him. Then you will overflow with confident hope through the power of the Holy Spirit. And I love any verse that reminds us about the hope we have. Hope is bigger than any person, any government, even our church. Hope is bigger than all that combined. Hope is in the form of Jesus Christ, who came and paid the price for us so that we could call God our Father, so that we could go into the Holy of Holies and be close and have a personal relationship with him. So I pray that God, the source of hope, will fill you completely with joy and peace. Joy is more than happiness. Happiness is kind of a fleeting emotion, but joy, that's deeper, that's more permanent. Hope, that's deeper, that's more permanent. And peace that comes from Christ, that's deeper and more permanent. So I hope that this scripture reminds you that that's where our hope is, that our hope is in Christ, and that's where we should be seeking to get filled from. It's that living water that Jesus offers that will make sure that we're never thirsty again. So that was our Devotions with Dave segment coming from Romans 15:13. I hope that spoke to you, and I hope that you'll spend time in the Word for yourself, because the Word is so vital and so important in our Christian walk. So we are continuing the National Humor Month celebration. Our guest this time is going to be Rhonda Corey. She's a phenomenal comedian. She hosts the Talk is Cheap show every Tuesday at 7:30 Eastern time, so 6:30 Central, where I'm located. It's a lot of fun. I've seen several of our favorite people on there. Steve Rivera and Haas have been on there, both from Gutties Comedy Club, friends of the program. So we're going to check out a little bit of Rhonda's comedy, and then we're going to bring her on in just a moment right here on the Gifts for Glory podcast.
So here we are, right? We're in the car, and we're spending some quality time together, you know? And he looks over at me, and he says, Rhonda, do you know what's longer than a line at Walmart on Black Friday? And I said, would that be your love for me? And he said, no. That would be the hair on your chin. So I flip the mirror down. I'm like, oh yeah, that is quite a whisker. So I took my fingernails and I tried to pluck it out. Ladies, you know what happened. Curled that baby like a Christmas ribbon. So I reach in my bag because I'm trying to find my tiny little flat iron. And I straightened it out. Gelled it back down. And I made no mention of the mohawk that was growing out of his ear. So we get inside the restaurant, and I hand off my Fitbit to the waitress. It was busy. I was going to tip her well. And so he's not paying any attention to me whatsoever. I'm thinking, well, maybe it's my newly forming goatee. Well, I look around, right? There's TVs all over this place. I'm like, aw, that's why he picked it. I thought it was because we had a group on. So I reached in my handbag and I pulled out my universal remote. And I shut them all off. Now I had his attention. And the attention of the manager. And we are no longer welcome at Applebee's.
So that is just a taste of the talent of this comedian. She is the winner of the 2018 Clean Comedy Challenge that's held right here in our neck of the woods at the Comedy Shrine in Aurora. She's been all over the country sharing her gift of comedy. She's also the host of, as we mentioned, Talk is Cheap. It's a weekly live show Tuesdays at 7:30 Eastern on her Facebook page. Also, you can catch the replays on the Creative Motion Network. And we're continuing again our celebration of National Humor Month. Please welcome Miss Rhonda Corey. Rhonda, welcome to the Gifts for Glory podcast.
Hey, Dave. Thanks for having me.
I'm excited to have you. I love your videos. I found them on your website, RhondaCoreyComedy.com. And I really enjoy Talk is Cheap. Usually my wife and I got like a Bible study or we're studying for ministry classes on Tuesdays. But when I can't catch it, I definitely love to catch it Tuesdays at 7:30, but also check it out on Roku on the Creative Motion Network. So it's an honor to have you on.
Oh, thanks. Well, I'm honored to be on. That was a wonderful devotional.
Oh, thank you so much. The only thing I couldn't figure out is how to get a separate invite to get the Chewy cam on. So maybe we'll just leave that as a teaser for Talk is Cheap.
Yeah. He is. I have to tell you, he is right next to me. He is always right next to me because he has to be. He's hired me as his butler. Yeah. For a year, I've been his butler, and he, when he barks, I have to take him out. When he's just, I want to sit next to you. I want a treat. He's very demanding.
And I, the viewers may have seen one of our cats just popped in the bottom corner of the screen a moment ago. Trooper is a lot like that. It's almost as if like I'm his Jesus, and he recognizes the sound of my voice. So when I start talking, he wants to come over.
Yeah, cats will. Cats have a mind of their own, and they're going to do whatever they want to do when they want to do it. Right?
Yes, they're like teenagers. Sometimes they want all the attention and love in the world, and then sometimes they're like, "You don't exist."
That's true. That is a teenager.
I don't have kids myself, but I can imagine that having cats has pretty well prepared us because you never know when they're going to need food. There's going to be plenty of stuff to eat, but they're still going to meow, want more because, I can see the bottom of my bowl. And then you always got to clean up after them. Yeah,
that's true. They are a lot like cats, That's true. That's a great comparison. I'm sure they love it too.
Yeah. So you are a comedian, you're a speaker, and you said you really focused on it starting in 2017. So tell us a little bit about how you got into comedy in the beginning and what made the difference to where you kind of really pursued it just about 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay. So I started doing comedy in churches. Doesn't everyone? But I actually paired up with a woman speaker Gail Cooper, who was a phenomenal speaker, by the way. Look her up, gailcooperspeaker.com. She's amazing. And we were both feeling like we were being called, her to tell her story. She has many stories, but she has quite a story to tell. And it's a little heavy. And so I was feeling called to do comedy. And so I think God put us together because honestly, we were probably too afraid to do it separately. And so we were there to encourage each other. And so we started with this ministry called Take Two Ministries, based on Ecclesiastes, where two are better than one. So, and of course, God is a God of second chances. That was kind of what what we were based on. So that's how I started. I would open up for her, and then she would speak, or maybe we did a lot of women's events, and that's kind of how I started.
That's awesome, and I love the idea of Ecclesiastes 2 are better than one, and also God is a God of second chances. So that ministry is awesome, and is that connected to your website, or what's the website for Take Two? Are you guys still doing stuff together?
We do. Well, we haven't done a lot this last year, but yes, we definitely, are willing to go out together, as well as, she speaks on her own, and obviously I'm doing comedy on my own, but yes, we definitely go out together as a team. We just think that's like the perfect package, to have a speaker and a comedian. But it is take2ministries.org is the website. Mm-hmm.
And is that two spelled out, or is it the number?
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. It's TWO. Yeah. Take Two, TWO. Yeah.
I'm going to put that up on the screen for everybody so that they can find it and connect with you guys, because a speaker and comedian, it goes hand in hand, because I've found, and I'm sure you can relate, that comedy breaks down a lot of walls that allows messages to get in behind the facade.
Exactly. And that was exactly, I wanted there, to be that piece.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew she could deliver that piece better than I can. So, yeah.
Awesome. So now you're doing comedy and, doing more of your own thing. What kind of, drove you to really jump in beyond the speaking with Take Two? Was there an event, or was there a moment where God just got a hold of you? What happened to get you really to dive in?
Well, I think, Gail was doing some different things, and I just felt strongly, I just so driven to do comedy. I can't even tell you, like I think about it so often, and I did feel called just to, like, I needed to plow ahead and just continue to do that. She was writing a book. And so, and I was getting some opportunities to do some gigs and events, alone. And so that's kind of how it started. And going to the CCA, Christian Comedian Association conference too. I mean, I was definitely encouraged to, okay, you can do this on your own. There's no reason, you have to always be paired with somebody. You can do this by yourself. They might not always just need a duo. They might need, just a comic. So, so I just got really serious about it. In 2017, I looked back because I was so frustrated. Like, why am I not getting better? I should be better at this. I should be, and the thing was, I wasn't getting enough stage time, Dave,
Mm-hmm.
and that is imperative.
Yeah.
So I went to my first Clean Comedy Challenge, which was actually in Chicago and Aurora at the Comedy Shrine. And it was a totally different setup for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned so much. And I was so excited that I had wished I had signed up. This was in July. I wish I had signed up in the one for August.
Mm-hmm.
And I begged, borrowed, stole so I could go to the one in Pasadena.
Oh,
because
wow.
and it was a totally different, it was totally different, even though it's the same concept. It was different. There were different contestants. There were different mentors there, teachers. And so I was like, that's it. And I really wanted to place the next time I went. I wanted to place. And so Marty Simpson, we did a show together, and I said, Marty, what do I need to do to place in this contest? He said, you need to hit the stage. You need to do some open mics. I did every open mic around here that I could possibly find, and they are not pretty. But I ended up really, making some friends in the Rhode Island area. And so that was great. Connected with people. I mean, not everybody that I connected with were Christians, you know what I'm saying? Which is great because, we need to be around everyone. You can't be in a bubble. That's not healthy either. So I ended up, just really, editing my comedy down. And I went to the Clean Comedy Challenge back in Chicago again. And I think I was as shocked as anybody that I want to be honest with you. I was, not that I didn't try, but I was blown away.
And with the Clean Comedy Challenge, it's over a couple of days, and you have multiple opportunities to perform round by round. So there's got to be a strategy. It's like, I know I've got a really great bit. Do I use it in the first round to make sure I advance, or do I save it for the last round? So how did that, strategy, or was there a strategy for you at that point?
I figured it out. I think I figured out that I would have to do a total of 12 minutes. And so I just broke it up in chunks. I did end up switching. I didn't have it all laid out before I went. And I practiced like crazy. 3 minutes isn't a lot of time.
No.
But you can get a lot of jokes in 3 minutes if they're edited down. And so I don't know, I kind of did my little chunks, little chunks here, maybe different categories. And I guess that's how I broke it down. I don't think I really, did I save the best for last? I don't know.
Okay.
I tried to be consistent.
There you go.
I tried to be consistent. I think that's really probably what did it, is I was consistent.
And looking at the picture of you guys all there at the Comedy Shrine at the end, there are some well-known and some successful comedians that were a part of that. I recognize Joby Sad. Was he a judge, or was he a contestant?
Oh no, he was definitely, he was a judge. Yeah.
Okay.
He was, was he a judge or he helped out? I'm not sure. I don't know if he actually judged. Bill Gorgo judged. Rocky Laporte was a judge. And a couple others too.
Yeah. Rocky Laporte, he's been around for a long time. He's hilarious.
Oh, he's amazing. And I got the opportunity to work with him for a fundraiser that he did in Connecticut. That was a lot of fun. And then for another, for a club down here, which is a different story. That didn't go as well as the fundraiser.
Do you have a preference over what kind of show, whether it's a club show or a church show?
I primarily work in churches, for the most part, but I also do a lot of fundraisers. You know what I love is I love comedy with a purpose.
Yeah.
So like coming up, I'm going to be doing a Power of the Purse events for United Way. And so they're going to be raising funds. And that gives me a charge. I have to tell you, I love that. Or, if I love churches, I love doing churches because I think that First of all, it's a great place to invite a friend that maybe doesn't want to come to church because they're intimidated, about going to church. And I think that's a non-intimidating situation where you can bring somebody,
Yeah.
and they're not feeling that threatened that they're going to get, because I think that's how, people that are unchurched, they feel, they feel threatened, or they have a picture of what a Christian is from social media. And that's not so true,
Right. Right.
So I love that as well. I love, and plus there's just not very many places where you can go and clean entertainment.
Right.
So the fact that you can walk into your church and have a clean comedy show. I mean, what's better than that? It just serves so many different purposes, and it's just, laughter is so well needed. It's just so well needed. It really is medicinal. And so I truly believe that from the bottom of my heart. I know there's nothing like having that good belly laugh, And being with a show on other people, I mean, you might not relate to my comedy, but you might relate to his or hers, or, so that I love that.
Absolutely. And there is no doubt in my mind that God gave us laughter to give us a little bit of levity with all the stuff he knew that we'd be going through. Some of it self-inflicted, of course. Others, it's just the fall of the broken world. And to have that moment of levity, to realize that there's something bigger, that this moment will pass, that there's something bigger. One of my favorite comedians, present company excluded, is Michael Jr. And he gave an interview where he said, laughter is the tangible evidence of hope. And I've loved that quote since he said it.
That's so funny, because I was just going to say how laughter brings hope. It really does. It gives you hope. Like, I have seen people that have just been, maybe walked in like this, or they've come up to me afterwards and said, "Oh, thank you. I haven't laughed in so long. I really needed that." And you can see, that their soul is refreshed from it. It's like, going to the beach. You go to the beach and you lay out there and you get in the sun, but when you leave the beach, you feel so grimy, and after you come home and you take a shower after the beach, and you just feel so refreshed and so great, and you had that vitamin D, and there's nothing like that,
Right.
That's how you feel after a comedy show.
Yeah, and you also, showering after the beach, you've got the extra exfoliation of washing the sand off, so you feel even better.
That's true.
So, Rhonda, one of the biggest parts of our show that is actually my favorite is getting to hear people's testimonies. We talked before we went on the air, be as transparent and as open as you'd like. But how did you first come to Christ, and who kind of led you along that path?
So I was brought to church when I was 8 years old by my parents, that's a story in its own, because my parents were both Jewish.
Oh, wow.
And my father was a radio announcer, and he used to at first he did it live. He did a pastor show live. The pastor invited him to church. He invited my mother, who kind of didn't really want to go to a church. I mean, she was Jewish. We didn't follow the traditions, mind you. I never went to a synagogue in my life, but both of my parents were born Jewish. So we went to church, and both of them ended up accepting Christ. I accepted him as an 8-year-old child. And I have this joke actually in my act, which is true, but I was 8, and then when I was 14, I left to start building baggage for my testimony. And it's the absolute truth. I mean, I really did. I strayed, and I lived, a crazy life. I just, at 14 years old, I kind of, just started partying and getting into all kinds of stuff, and made a lot of bad choices, lots and lots of bad choices.
What were your parents doing at that time? Did they know that you were kind of going through that rough spot and kind of let you live, or were you very good at keeping it secret from them?
No, and at that time, my father was no longer following Christ. So my mother, was a devout Christian. But my father was, a little tough, He had a temper. He came from a tough childhood himself.
Yeah.
And so, it was difficult for my for my mom. That was probably, I didn't realize it at the time, but that was probably why I kind of strayed that way. And you just as when those formable years, as a middle schooler going into high school. It's a tough time, and of course, you want to be accepted, and you want to be with who you think the cool kids are, and what are the cool kids doing, And I grew up in the late 70s, and so back then, Saturday Night Live was on. Cheech and Chong were big, so. Marijuana and drinking, that was all glamorized,
Right.
Not that it's not now, but I mean, it was glamorized back then. And so that's what was cool. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do, I thought my mom was, she was crazy,
Right.
she was crazy. I mean, I felt like I was living with an angel and a devil, I used to say. Dad, it's terrible to say that, but yeah, so that's how it was. And that's what I did. I just strayed and made some really wrong choices, and just, that's what I cared about. I didn't care about school. I skipped a lot of school. I ended up getting into a program. I mean, at first I was on track to go to college. And then when I was in my junior year, I was going to school half a day and working half a day, because I was ready to quit. I mean, what was I going to do? I don't know. But I don't know how that turn happened, but you kind of go back and you try to relive, what made me do these things? Why did I act this way? And that's what I did. I did a lot of partying, and that continued on in my adulthood.
So what ended up changing? You're kind of living this rebellious lifestyle, kind of almost rebelling, if I'm understanding correctly, against to your mom, because you saw that your dad had kind of seen the Lord and walked away. You're like, well, then what's in it for me? Almost. What ended up changing?
So I ended up. I was 32, and ended up getting pregnant by my now husband.
Yeah.
And we were already talking marriage. And he asked me to marry him. He said, well, we're going to get married. I said, now we're not going to get married, because I'm not going to have you marry me because I'm pregnant. I had a great mindset. So anyway, we obviously ended up getting married. And so I wanted to get married in the church that I was brought up in. And my mom was, still going. And, the pastor, that was my pastor. And so normally, to be honest with you, Dave, that is not a situation that they would allow you to get married in the church. But I don't know, God had different plans, and we were allowed to get married in the church, and we went, for premarital counseling. And so honestly, I started going to church because, I had to, at least until the wedding.
Right.
And the wedding ended, and I just kept on going. And I can't say there was this one date where, whoa, the Holy
Mhm.
Spirit, it wasn't like that. It, it was kind of the same way that I kind of slipped out was kind of very subtle. It
Mhm.
was the same way that God worked in my heart. And I think God works in people different ways.
Yeah.
The way that, he knows that you can be reached.
Mhm.
And so little by little, I just kept going. And, I wasn't going anymore because I had to. I wanted to be there. And I was like really enjoying this. And now I was going to have a child. And I wanted my child to be brought up with, morals. And I didn't want my child to live the life that I was living. And so I had a whole different perspective. And I remember my pastor once saying that, when God wanted to change the world, he brought in a baby.
Mm.
And
Wow.
when God wanted to change my life, he brought me a baby.
Wow.
And my son really is uh, the reason that I ended up coming back to Christ.
Wow, that's amazing. And you said this happened when you were 32, so it means that your son is what, 6 months?
Yes. So I don't know how this happened,
Yeah.
but my son is only about 7.5.
Mm.
Yeah. And he stays that. So maybe he has a full beard, but still, yeah, we don't have to talk about age, Dave. We're not gonna get that deep into this, are we?
No, I just think it's funny because you had mentioned on one of your other bits that I was watching on your YouTube channel about getting gift cards at your next milestone birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew that I wasn't revealing anything crazy because you
No,
you
I know.
mentioned that on stage, but wow, that's really so true that God speaks to us in our own language.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that's important, that I think a lot of our fellow Christians don't get, is that it's okay to talk in someone's language. Where Paul says, "I'm all things to all people," it's not that he changes the gospel for who he's speaking to. He changes his delivery for how who he's speaking to.
Yes, yes, yes. I can't agree more. I can't agree more.
And that's how God got me. I had accepted Christ when I was going into 6th grade, but wasn't discipled, and not kind of, but actually just walked away. There were times
Mm,
where I legitimately cursed God because of what I was going through and the depression I was dealing with. And he eventually just got through to me because it was more of a subtle drift back into faith. It was a lot of little things that drove me back to that point where I was like, okay, God, you're talking to me. I'm going to start listening.
yeah.
And he talked in the language I needed to hear.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing how, he'll reach you where you're at. He really will.
Hmm.
And, everybody has a different story. I mean, some people like, I remember it was March 4th of
Hmm.
1994, and that's not my story. It
Right.
it was it was a very subtle, um but it's and I'm not going to say that, it's been perfectly like this the whole time.
Right. Right.
There's been some bumps and hills, but the thing is that I have hope. You
Hmm.
spoke about hope in the beginning, and that's just like my favorite thing, because I have hope now. And
Yeah.
I know that my life would be totally different if I didn't have the Lord. I
Hmm.
can tell you right now, I probably would not be married to my husband, even though he's amazing. I wouldn't have had the relationship with my mom, and my dad. Definitely not with my dad, or probably my brother. So it, I know that because I know how I was,
Hmm.
and how I'm still pretty verbal. But I was very, very, very verbal, and I would say whatever I wanted to say because I
Mm,
could, like I kind
sure.
of had that chip on my shoulder. And so God works in your heart. He's still working.
Mhm.
There's a lot of work to be done. I certainly haven't reached that point yet. That's for sure. There's a lot of work to be done.
I think it's safe to say that as long as you have a pulse and breath in your lungs, God's not done working on you.
Mhm.
So never feel ashamed for anybody that's watching or listening. Never feel ashamed if you feel like God's still working because you're alive. He's still molding that pot and creating that finished masterpiece. So just trust in the process. So that's just encouragement to anybody that might pick up the program. So after you've had your son and you're back in church and you're starting to have that kind of that crock pot faith just growing and simmering over time. What were you doing career wise? Were you a stay at home mom, or were you doing something else that was helping support the family?
So I was a stay-at-home mom for the most part, but I was doing Mary Kay Cosmetics
Okay.
actually. Um, Somewhat. I had actually uh, won 2 diamond rings because I
Ooh.
did Court of Sales 2 years in a row, and I earned the Red Grand Am,
Ooh.
yeah, for a
Nice.
couple of years, and so and their philosophy, Mary Kay's philosophy was God first, family second, career third.
Mm-hmm.
So God knows how to change you because before that, I was a bartender. That's how I
Oh.
earned my living. I bartended for years. I supported myself. And so it's funny though, you can see how God took the gifts that I had to be a bartender. That was my stage, Dave. When I was
Mm-hmm.
behind the bar, that was my stage. And I enjoyed you know, talking to people and making them laugh. And I would hear a lot. You
Mm-hmm.
should be you should be a stand-up comic, you should be a stand-up comedian. You're so funny. You're so funny. They were drunk too, Dave. That helped. Um, people people think I'm really funny if they're drunk. But no, but that you can see how God kind of set the stage there.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I moved into Mary Kay, the people that were at my table trying on, skincare products and doing their makeup, they were my stage then.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were my audience, and I was on stage then. It's amazing how he just kind of brought me into different, prepared me, you know,
Yeah.
for the entertainment industry.
So, given that background, do they let you pour the grape juice or the wine at communion so that
No,
you
I'm
can?
not a
Okay.
I'm not allowed near it. I'm just kidding.
Uh, that is awesome. So you're doing the bartending, Mary Kay. That's kind of giving you the ability to work a room, to read people, and to
Mm.
kind of know what's happening. So when did that officially? When did you first take that first open mic or that first comedy performance?
So I was on the women's events team at my church. And I decided to do this game because we were having a retreat. I decided to do this game. The game it originally was going to be like, okay, Eve will be the first dressmaker, and we'll do like a match, we'll kind of like Noah's wife, Mrs. Noah. And then I said, you know what? Why don't I take the characters and act them out?
Hmm.
So I did like a whole thing. I kind of had an idea of what I was going to say, but a lot of it was ad libbed at the time or whatever. I mean, I did Rahab. She came out, she had a New York accent. She had a fake fur. She came out chewing gum. Um, and so the people who were watching had to guess who the Bible character was. And so I had a blast just writing that and doing that. And then I started I actually went to a few churches and did it, performed it for a few churches. And then I opened for Tim Hawkins,
Ooh.
his DVD. I opened for his DVD.
Wow.
Yes. How many people get to open for a DVD? That was my start. I actually tried stand-up comedy before Tim Hawkins DVD. And then I think I've done it because we would have comedy nights. They showed like Shonda Pierce. I opened for her DVD.
Wow.
I did either skits or I tried stand up. And one night I just put on a whole comedy show where I did stand up, which I thought was stand up. It was horrible. Now, now you look back, you're like, honey, that wasn't stand up. I don't know what you're doing. You were standing up. That was about as close to stand up as you got. But yeah, so that's how I started.
That's awesome. And those are some doors that really God could only open for somebody is, somebody like Tim Hawkins, and who I think that he owes every comedian an apology for not giving the heads up about 2020 since he retired right before it all happened.
So funny. I love to tell everybody I opened for his DVD. I opened for Tim Hawkins' DVD and for Shonda's DVD. Oh my gosh, too funny.
The closest I'll ever be is actually opening their DVD.
Like they played, they played their DVD and I opened for their DVD to be played. Yes, like I literally opened for their DVD in the church. Yes.
Okay, I was thinking like you're like the warm-up act before they film the set.
Yeah,
okay.
No. They're actual DVD.
Oh, wow.
Their actual DVD. We put it in first. It was me, and then everyone, look at the screen, and that's
Oh, okay. So
no.
I was here thinking like, wow, Rhonda's got some awesome opportunities.
Yeah, no.
Well, not yet. But once the dry bar drops, those doors are going to fly wide open. And
here's the thing. I have surrendered my career, my comedy career to God. So wherever he takes me, I'm going to work hard and, I'm going to do what I know that I should do, and whatever doors God opens. And I have to be honest with you, if he closes the door completely, then he does. And then I accept that, but number one, I want to do whatever he has me to do, because that's what matters, on the other side of heaven. That's all that matters is, was I really following his lead? Because that's what I just want to be faithful to whatever he has for me. Because you know what? When I get to heaven, he's not going to be like, all right, so your dry bar, the likes on it, little on the low side, none of it's going to matter. Oh, so you opened for such and such, huh? Okay. Well, we have a nice place over here. Here's your mansion. It's none of that matters to God. None of it. It matters what you do with what you're given. And so I just want to make sure that what I'm given, I use to the fullest. And I make the most out of any kind of talent I have. And he's going to have to multiply it, But, and that's exactly how I feel.
And that's the perfect perspective to have. Although it gets, when you're somebody in a performance-based thing like comedy or something, it's very easy to look at the shiny fruit of the tree of good and good and evil, and like, I want that, and then you're forgetting that you already have all the fruit you need, and so it's very challenging to want to pursue the fame and the fortune, and that's an awesome perspective to have, and it's I pray that we all keep it. That we realize that we're performing for an audience of one. Everybody else is just along for the ride.
Yeah. I agree. Honestly, I just want to work. I just want to keep working. And, I'm don't get me wrong. I'm very excited about doing Dry Bar. That's a great opportunity. I'm thankful for it. And any opportunities that I get, I'm very thankful for them. And I just hope that, I don't know, like maybe that's going to lead me to reaching out to somebody who's in the green room with me or somebody
Mhm.
who's in the audience. I don't know. But I want to be used by God. I mean, there's a lot of, people that I pray for, they don't even know half the time, that I'm
Mhm.
praying for them. But, I know that God just can work through anybody. I mean, he
Yeah.
can speak through a donkey. So
Yeah.
here you go.
Absolutely. And I'm going to throw this up on the screen just for a moment. You've got several shows, a couple in Michigan. In fact, you're going to be in Michigan this weekend for a couple of shows.
I'm leaving tomorrow.
Leaving tomorrow on a
Yeah.
jet plane. Then at the end of the month, you'll be back in New England, in Massachusetts, up in New Bedford, 3 days in Glendale, Arizona, and then all the way back to Indiana to our friends down at Gutties on the 14th and 15th. You're going to be in their new spot
Yes.
in the Greenwood Mall. Really excited to see that new spot. And I saw a comment on your post that Rick Roberts is thinking about driving up to see you. So, you know, maybe
I have to go. Look, I'm like looking up. I have to go check that out. Oh my gosh, I have to get on Facebook. Oh, I love Rick. Rick, honestly, he taught me how to write. He really did. He taught me how to just take a joke and just how to edit it down and where to punch it. And I've had a lot of people help me. I mean, he's not, the only person, but I took his comedy course. Anybody that wants to get into comedy, I highly recommend
yes.
Rick Roberts. I can't speak. Rick Roberts comedy course.
School of Laughs.
Yes, it's School of Laughs. He's amazing, and he has a heart of gold. He really does. I have so much respect for him.
And not to puff myself up, but I had Rick Roberts scheduled for this month. But unfortunately for me, but fortunately for him, he got a show on the night we were supposed to record. So he's finally getting some opportunities to get back out there. And I'm also looking forward to his movie, The Mayberry Man.
Yes.
So
That's how I got this gig. Rick was backed out, and we have to fill it. Who likes to talk? I know somebody. That girl, she never shuts up.
But Gutties is going to be awesome, and you're going to be hanging out with our friend Haas, who is also going to Dry Bar the same weekend.
The same day.
Yeah.
We are on the same show together. So I'm super excited about that.
So, are you traveling directly from Indiana to Utah, or are you going back home and then flying?
No, I'm going back home in between. Chewy would have it no other way.
Okay.
No, I'm going to, if I had like some gigs on the way or whatever, I would, but yeah, no, I'm flying back home, and then I'll fly out, fresh. So I'll be fresh as a daisy, hopefully, and I'll be ready. I'll be primed, getting some stage time and getting to work some of my jokes out. And I can't believe it. It's pretty cool, because I know some amazing comics have done Dry Bar, and people that I just really have so much respect for, and to think that I'm getting to do this. I feel very, very fortunate, really.
It's awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing it drop, and hopefully I can come down and see you at Gutties in a couple of weeks, because I just love Steve and Dennis down there, and they're a heck of a team, and I'm really happy that they're getting back into their own space, and it looks even bigger and better than ever. So I'm really excited for them, and they've got you coming down, which can be great, and they've got their house improv team down there. They won't take it. I keep offering it to them, but I say, use the moniker the premier clean comedy club in the Midwest. That's what I think they are. But Steve's like, nah, man, we got this. So check out Gutties Comedy Club. You can see Rhonda Corey there coming up in just a couple of weeks on May 14th and 15th in the brand new spot in the mall. Also, if you're in Utah for whatever reason, check out Dry Bar on the 21st. You can also see Hoss in action. And you can find all those dates and information to connect at rhondacoreycomedy.com. But Rhonda, before I let you go, there are 2 more segments that we do on every show. The last one we're going to do is we're going to ask you for your wise counsel for anybody that wants to use their gifts for God's glory. So let that stew in the back of the brain.
Okay.
But before we get there, we have 7 quick questions. They're random, wouldn't have otherwise fit in the interview. We call this segment the interrogation. So the first question of the interrogation is favorite ice cream flavor.
Favorite ice cream flavor. Oh, that is really tough. I am going to say cookie dough.
That's a good choice. I think all Christians would also say Rocky Road. All right, question number 2. What's been your favorite venue to play?
What's been my favorite? Gosh, it's been so long. What's been my favorite venue to play? I did this fundraiser, the one that I did with Rocky Laporte. That was just a blast. It was just so much fun. So that was just such a fun show. I don't know, but the last clip that you showed that was at Rock Church, that was a blast too. I don't know. That was such a wonderful audience. I'm going to say there for now.
Okay. Sounds good. And for any church that's out there, you've got a great facility. Maybe you could win Rhonda's favorite venue to play in. So book her now. All right. Question number 3. With whom do you most identify with in the Bible?
Oh, let's see. No, I was going to say somebody, but I'm not going to say that. Wow, that's tough. It doesn't have to necessarily be a female. Sometimes I identify with Peter.
Okay.
Because he's just like, he'll just blurt things out sometimes, and he always means well.
He's got that zeal and that passion,
Yeah.
and sometimes it goes faster than it spills out faster than his brain can control it. Because it's funny about Peter. One moment, Jesus is like, "On this rock, I'm going to build my church," and 5 verses later, he's like, "Get behind me, Satan."
Exactly. Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. Question number 4. What's been your biggest regret?
Oh, gosh. My biggest regret in life is just honestly not following Jesus sooner. I could have saved so many bags from my baggage.
Right.
And just getting connected. It's hard for a teenager. I volunteered as a youth leader for 9 years because I just think it's so crucial for teens to have someone that they can go to that's not their parent, that wants the best for them. And but they need to connect with other Christian teens. It's a tough age. So I guess I wish that I had someone, a youth leader, maybe, that I could have had respect for, that I could have gone to.
Yeah. Good word. Interrogation question number 5. When was the last time that you bombed on stage? Or am I being rude in assuming that you ever have?
Oh, please. Really, like, I did a club with Rocky Laporte, and I bombed
Mm.
on stage. I mean, the first 2 nights, I did not do well. The next night, because it was Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, the next night, I did okay. I did all right, but the first 2 nights they were not good nights. It was at a casino, and
Mm.
that is a totally different audience,
Yeah.
and, I cried.
Oh.
I cried because I wanted to do so well, and he brought me along, and so that's the truth. I'm being totally, transparent.
Hmm. I'm sorry to bring up that hard memory, but
That's all right. Thanks. This is fun. It's a fun podcast.
what's been your proudest moment? Let's go back to a happy moment.
Oh, what's been my proudest moment? Just probably watching my son and just watching him become the man he's becoming, and watching him get over hurdles.
Hmm. Nice.
So I guess that's ongoing, but I'm not really even proud of for me. I'm proud for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not because of my magnificent parenting, but watching watching God, work in his life.
Yeah.
So,
Awesome. All right. Final question of the interrogation. Book your fantasy show. Who do you perform with and where?
oh gosh, that's horrible. I where do I perform? Gosh, that's hard, Dave. That's really hard. Did you notice I put an A on the back of your name, Dave?
Yes.
Okay. I'm also stalling. I don't know. There's so many people that I've gotten to perform with, some wonderful people, and I'm getting to perform, like, I'm like this weekend I'm going to get to perform with Robert G. Lee.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah.
how awesome is that, And I don't know. Huh. I don't know, one of those big churches, one of those big mega churches, say Bayside Church in California,
Okay.
because I listen to their messages,
Mm-hmm.
and so I'm in love with the church. I'm in love with, the pastors and just their hearts, and just how that church works. So maybe there. And who would I perform with? I don't know. You know who I was supposed to perform with many times, and we haven't ever, COVID happened, and then
Mm-hmm.
we were supposed to perform together again. I haven't yet gotten to perform with Sean Reynolds.
Oh.
So I want to perform with Sean. He's the nicest guy. He's really funny. And, he was really up and coming, and COVID hit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so I want to see him get back on track. I love to see other people's successes. I
Mm-hmm.
really do. There's nothing like that. And he was really starting to soar. And so he toured with Tim Hawkins. And so I don't know.
I would say that I would love to be able to book you with Shonda Pierce and with Tim Hawkins, just so in the green room you could tell them the story.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, this is not the first time I've opened for you guys.
Yes, I've opened for your DVDs. Yes. Oh my gosh. Can you imagine? Like, that was my gig. I opened for a DVD.
Right.
Yeah.
That's how I feel about some like worship pastors, that they open worship music, and then they turn to a minister that's on a campus, screen. So they're opening for the screen.
Yeah.
I don't think I could be a part of a church that's that big. I like small and personal. So
Yeah, I mean, and the cool thing is, like, anything that fits you, is out there. So there is that small and personal, and then there's the mega churches that have the small groups too, yeah, so everything's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So final question.
Okay.
Every guest, for anyone that's looking to step up and use their gifts for God's glory, what is your wise counsel?
Okay. Just do it. Just, when you look back, you can see God setting the stage. Usually from the time that you were a child, there's those things that you just love to do that just become, that are just natural to you. And you think they're natural to everyone else, and they're not. Those are your gifts. Those are the things that, whatever it is that you're great at, and everybody is just in awe. Maybe you're a whiz on, with your computer skills or your decorating skills, or you can sing, or whatever that is. Whatever just comes natural to you, and you can't understand why. Well, of course you can do this. That's what you think. Of course, can't everyone? And it's like, no, everyone can't. Those are your gifts. And so, you just have to give those over to God and just let him direct you and open the doors, and just be willing. Be willing. And even if you're fearful, I always say this, do it afraid. I'm afraid of everything. I don't like to fly by myself. I don't like to travel alone. Doesn't matter. Do it anyway. Do it afraid. And God's going to take care of you. He will take care of you, and he wants you to have to depend on him.
Yeah.
If it's so easy to step out, then you don't need him. So I'm clinging to him right now, because a lot of the things that I'm doing, they're beyond me. And that's a good thing, because when you get too comfortable, then it's not good.
Right. That comfort can kind of lead to that path that we were talking about earlier, where it's just that gradual deviation from the Lord, and then suddenly you're like, how did I get here? How did I get so far away?
A slow fade.
Slow fade, absolutely. I heard a song, I think Casting Crowns has a song, Slow Fade.
I love it. I love that.
Yeah.
Because it's so true, because you don't even realize, So, so I would just say, you probably have that thing that you want to do, but you're like, ugh, you're holding yourself. Just do it. Just try it. Just if it's comedy, try an open mic, or find someone else that's doing what you want to do, and connect with that person.
Yep, absolutely. Great word. Rhonda, Corey, thank you so much for joining us. For those watching or listening, connect with Rhonda at rhondacoreycomedy.com. If you're looking for an event and you want to create an event for your church, your organization, visit our website for booking information and contact details. You also find all of our social media links there at rhondacoreycomedy.com. And just to put this up on the screen one more time, these are the dates coming up. Tomorrow she's going to Michigan. And then she'll be out in New Bedford, Massachusetts, out to Arizona, and then to our friends at Gutties in Greenwood. Really excited to see her down there. And then, again, congratulations on the Dry Bar. Looking forward to seeing that drop probably later this year, not first part of next year, because they don't give you an idea of when it's coming out, do they?
No, it's probably going to come out in 2022 or 23. We have no idea when it's going to come out, but I'm just thankful for the opportunity, really. That's a pretty amazing opportunity.
Absolutely. So next week, be sure to tune back in. We're going to have Kenny Robinson Cornbread is going to be on the show. We're going to talk to him about ministry and his comedy as well. He's incredibly funny. Really glad to connect with him. So that's next week here on our podcast, live on Wednesday on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, and then the replays on Creative Motion Network and on the Taken Television Network. So be sure to check those out as well. Rhonda, thank you again so much. Blessings for safe travels to you, and really looking forward to hopefully seeing you at Gutties in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dave. It was fun.
Absolutely. Everyone, have a great night. We'll talk to you soon.